Hello and welcome to another week of Just One More Thing, a podcast about knitting and crafting. I'm your host Janessa, and if you're thinking to yourself, wow, she looks like death, it's because I have been attacked by allergies and they've gotten the better of me. And that's also why I sound really bad. I'm podcasting a day late because yesterday I sounded about 10 times worse than this. And today it's still pretty bad, but I have so much stuff that I got done last week that I didn't want to skip an entire week, or next week's episode would have been like 2 hours long. So I'm going to do a short podcast today. I apologize for the odd lighting. It's very cloudy today, and when I turned off the overhead lights like I usually do, it was very dark. So let's crack on. I'm going to show you some finished objects. Yes, objects that you have never seen before. I did finish the blankie for my mom's friend, and it got sent off in the mail, and I did not get pictures. Maybe when I get pictures, like after she opens her gift and stuff this weekend, I'll send back. I'll get pictures for that and post them at a later date. But for now, it did get done. It was on the smaller side, but I think she'll like it. I think it'll be a fun little kind of a lovey blanket, car seat blanket. However, I did finish other things that you have not ever seen before. So I have new items to share. The first one is this hat. So this is the traveling cable hat from Pearl Soho. It's a free pattern on their blog. And I knit this out of Lion Brand wool spun. The pattern does not include a pom-pom, but I had just enough leftover yarn that I thought that would make a cute addition to the hat. I knit this on size 11 needles. I think the pattern calls for like 11, US 11 on the brim, and then you're supposed to move up to a 13 on the body of the hat, but I do not have size 13 circular needles. So I did, I think, like a 10.5 on the brim and an 11 on the body of the hat, and I thought it turned out pretty cute. I was a little worried about my cable, but I think it turned out, it looks like the pattern on the page, and it turned out pretty okay, I think. So it's a child size hat. I put it on, but it does not fit my head. But my kids loved it. This one is actually going to the prayer shawl ministry that I knit with. We were going to do some hats for the kids this winter. So this was a hat for that. It was also super quick to knit up. I cast this on Thursday night about 6 o'clock, and I had it done by 9, like pom-pom and all. So yeah, it was a really fun, super quick, instant gratification knit. And I'm going to be making some more of these. So that was a fun pattern. I liked it. Yay. Finished object number 1. Number 2, I will put on for you. Actually, let's do it like that. So maybe I'll just wear this one the rest of the podcast. I think so. We'll just keep this one on. All of the edits in this week's episode, but I figure you probably don't want to hear me hacking and coughing and sneezing, so I'm cutting all of those bits out. So finished object number 2. This pattern is the Barley Hat from Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. Tin Can Knits did a kind of a learn to knit garment type series of patterns where they had like a couple of different hats, I think some mittens, a shawl, a sweater, a cardigan. I don't know, there was probably like 7 or so different patterns that were free that were written very much for a beginner knitter knitting this type of thing for the very first time. So the instructions are very, very good. If you have never knit a hat before, if you've never made a sweater before, if this is your first time making something other than, you know, like a dishcloth, then look for the Tin Can Knits series. I think it's called the Simple series. Anyway, really great free patterns, sized all the way from like newborn up to adult on all of those patterns, which is one of the reasons I love the Tin Can Knits patterns. They were also the ones that the flax sweater that I made for Emerson was in that same series. So yeah, this is the Barley Hat, but you will notice I ran out of yarn. So this is now my Barley headband, my ear warmer. I actually told Brooklyn that she could have it, but we might have to share. It's basically a super simple pattern, and like again, it's free, so I'm not giving anything away, but it's just a super simple like 1x1 rib around the brim when you cast on, and then you take like, I don't know, a little less than a third of the hat and you knit that in garter stitch, and you knit the rest of it in stockinette. So basically you're knitting the hat, and then every other round you do like purl stitches for just this little bit of the garter, and so it just kind of gives it a nice little bit of texture. It gives it a little bit of interest, you know, so it's just not plain stockinette beading. But I do really enjoy this. I think it'll be it's like a really good boy hat pattern. If you have boys, it's really fun to knit in this kind of striped variegated color, because you kind of get a little bit of interest, and you know, breaking up the colors in the purl side, but then you also get to see how it knits up a stockinette. The yarn was, oh, I want to say it was Loops and Threads. It was at Michael's, like their Michael's generic store brand yarn, but it was like variegated and not just their plain colored yarn. So that was finished object number 2. And last on the finished object parade, you guys are going to be like, what the heck did she do all last week? Nothing but knit, apparently. This is not a new knitting project. This was a salvage, a huge mistake, so that you don't have to throw something that you knit and loved away. Years ago, I knit these mittens. It was a mystery knit along from Lala with the Knit Girls, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the mittens, but it was a knit along, and it was fun because it had my camera's backwards this week. There. It had like a really fun Latvian braid cast on, and there were all these floats along the wrist that was really interesting, and then it had like kind of a waffly pattern on the hands, and they were super fun mittens that I loved dearly, until one of them went through the washing machine. And I can tell by looking which one it was. It was this one. This one went through the washing machine, and it felted, and it no longer fit my hand. It kind of fit, like that's as much as I can get it on. So it'd be like super short. So yeah, that one went through the washer and it felted, and I was sad because only one went through the washer. And it wouldn't fit me anymore. And then I found the other one and I was like, well, I hate to just throw out the one mitten. I hate to just throw them out. I wanted to maybe try to salvage them. So what I finished this week was felting the second mitten. So you can kind of see like this one versus that one. Like this one's still a little bit looser than this one, because I hand felted this one so that I could get it to be the exact same size. And you're maybe asking yourself, why in the world would she felt those mittens? Like, what good do they do now that they're felted and they don't fit you? They now fit my son. So Emerson now has a pair of felted mittens. And the nice thing about felted mittens is that they are extremely water resistant now. So when he goes out and plays in the snow this winter, like his hands won't be completely soaked and wet, like the store-bought mittens are. Like when he wears the store-bought mittens, like they're just soaked and ice crusted when he comes inside, and his hands are just freezing. But these will keep his hands much warmer, much longer, and pardon me, and they'll stay dry. So that was my other finished object. I felted down a pair of mittens just for him. And I'll tell you, the entire time that I was doing it, it felt so wrong. It felt so bad. I was like, as a knitter who knows, I mean, like, I know people felt things on purpose. I once had a pair of slippers that were designed, like, you knit them and felted them on purpose. And I don't know, to me, felting things on purpose just seems like so wrong. Like, you're not supposed to felt things. That's not how knitting works. I know that there's a purpose for it. It feels weird to do that. It just does. So a couple of new cast-ons for on my needles because it's fall and I got a major case of startitis. I don't know, there was just this night where I wanted to cast on all of the things, and so I did. I've got a new shawl on the needles. This one is called the Outing Shawl, and I don't know if this will show up on screen or not. It will not. So I'm gonna have to edit in a picture here. This is what the shawl looks like. It's called the Outing Shawl by, does it tell me who it's by? Irene Lynn, designed by Irene Lynn. This one has been in my favorites for a while. It's a color work shawl, but not a stranded color work shawl. It's a slip stitched color work shawl. So you can kind of see there, like the slipped stitches, how it makes that from far back, it makes it look like it's stranded, but it's not. It's just slip stitches, so that the color work kind of bleeds into the other rows. So I haven't gotten super far in this one yet. It is pretty simple to knit. I just, when the allergies struck me down, I haven't really been in the knitting kind of a mood. So there's that. But the fun part about the shawl is the bits on the edge where you get to add in quite a bit of color. So my main color is, oh, what is this stuff called? It's the Superwash, I want to say Swish, or it's not Stroll. Um, it's Knit Picks yarn, but it's worsted. It's like Stroll, but it's worsted. I can't remember what it's called. You guys are like, wow, this is super entertaining this week. Thanks, Allergy Medicine. Anyway, I'll put the name up here. It's from Knit Picks. It's kind of a tonal. I want to say it's Swish, but I'm probably wrong. So that's my main color. And then the light bits in the shawl are this mystery yarn. It's super soft. It's got a little bit of a halo to it. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's just got a little bit of fuzz to it. But yeah, I cannot remember where I bought this yarn. So it's mystery yarn, but I thought it kind of went well with that gray. So that's like my color B. And then I haven't entirely decided yet, but I think these colors might be kind of like my edging. These are the two that I really want to be along on the edging. So like those. But then it needs, sorry, I'm getting dings from Emerson's teacher. They did math tutoring this morning. But I think I might like add this one in as well, or I have this Malabrigo, but I don't know that it goes quite as well. It goes really well with these two, but I don't know that it goes well with these. So I don't know. I'm still kind of playing around with the colors that I'll use on the edging. I also have this mystery yarn that might go well with that. So I'm still kind of playing around with that. These two are fingering, so I'll have to hold them double to get the same weight as the rest of the yarn, but I have quite a ways to knit before I get to that point. So I'm still kind of pondering all of that. But yeah, the Outing Shawl by Irene Lynn. I'm excited to see how that works up. All right, on to the next. Since it's lying on top of everything, where am I gonna put this? Next up, I'm going to show you my progress on the What the Fade shawl. So spoilers! If you don't want to see the What the Fade progress, here's where you can fast forward to. I am into clue number 4. Clue number 4 continues on with the garter stitch fading. I'm not quite done with it. But let's see, clue 3 took me up through here, this gray line right there. And then we faded in. And now I'm knitting on color C, which is really washed out in this light. I apologize. But it's that kind of cream and brown. There you go. That's color C. So here's how it's fading so far. This was F, E, D, and C. This clue takes me all the way into color B, and then we'll see what comes next week. I'll actually get the, like, later tonight, because it's Wednesday, and the pattern has been coming out, like, pretty, like, around 10 or 11 on Wednesday night for, like, the Thursday pattern release. So It won't be too much longer before I'll see, like, do I continue fitting on into A? Does A bring in some kind of other type of stitch? I don't know what will happen. But clue 5 is kind of one where you could technically end on clue 5. And then there's like clue 6, which makes it even bigger. I have quite a bit of yarn, so I will probably be going on to clue 6. But even at this point, like, we're up to almost 400 some stitches. So it's getting quite large. I'll try to hold it up. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I know last week I was bemoaning the fact that I didn't really like the switch between the looseness of the brioche and how tight it got on my garter stitch, but I really think it'll block out, and the more I do the garter, like, the more the garter stitch goes along, the more I'm like, oh, I'm okay with it now. Like, it's working for me. So progress is being made on that with the fade. And I also knit for a little bit on Mom's buffalo sweater. It's still pretty small. We're still slowly making progress. There we go. So when this is actually knit, it will hang like this around the back. And then this will be, like, this is where you pick up stitches and knit the back of part and, like, bring it up over the shoulders. So it's still quite a ways to go, but slowly but surely making some progress. I really need to get motivated to work on this more. I'm still on my first ball of yarn, but not very much left of that. So the yarn's holding out, crossing my fingers on that account. I am still a little worried that I will not have enough, but we're getting there, slowly but surely. Next up is another new cast on, and this is for the Prayer Shawl Ministry, and I'm in the middle of a row. Let me figure out. So this one is called Under the Willow. And as you can see, it's kind of a rectangular triangle, like it's a squared off triangle. Cora Hudson, I think is how you say her name. I will again put the picture up here so that you can see how it looks, but it's constructed like a triangle, but it's not triangle shaped. It's more like trapezoid, not trapezoid, I don't know. It's basically like a triangle with a flat bottom. I don't know how to describe it. It's a little more square than rectangle. But I quite like it. It is a pattern that is written for DK weight yarn. But I am obviously using a worsted. This is Loops and Threads Impeccable. This is the same yarn as this hat. This is just like a variegated colorway, and this is a solid, so yeah, impeccable. And this is Rich Orchid. Rich Orchid is the color of this. So it's like a fuchsia pink. The overhead lights are really washing that out. But yeah, I like it. It's going to be kind of just a nice big cozy shawl. And again, this is for the prayer shawl ministry that I knit for. So Under the Willow is that. Those are all my works in progress that I've got going. I do have a quick recommendation, and that is Knit Companion. It's an app that I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with. For the longest time, I could only find it for the iPad. And I didn't have an iPad, so I never had a chance to use it. And you know my big pet peeve about patterns, that you open up the PDF on your computer and like the charts are sideways, and so, I can't read the charts without printing them out, and I get so frustrated. Knit Companion. It's now available for iPhone, but the nice thing about it is that you can flip the PDF so that it's so you can read it the right way. It's not ideal for an iPhone screen. You kind of have to do a lot of like navigating, like moving over and stuff, kind of like making it big and small and big. So I mean, it's not ideal for the iPhone, but it is available on the iPhone now. It's great if you have an iPad or, you know, on that kind of bigger screen. But it lets me keep track. So like with that willow shawl that I was doing, it lets me keep track. This is so not gonna show up on the screen. But you can kind of see like that blue line there. Like, it lets me keep track of where I am on the chart. It also has like handy little, how do people show stuff on their iPhones on these? I don't know. It has like little counters so you can keep track of repeats and all kinds of nice, neat features. I have the free version. I think there's like extras that you can like pay to, I don't know what all the extra features do. But I know that this is a very popular app with knitters. I recently found it, and it is extremely helpful, so that I no longer have to, I don't know if I have the paper here or not, like, this is my usual Knit Companion of like hash marks to keep track of repeats, and like tons of notes to keep track of like changes that I've made to the pattern and stuff. And yeah, going paperless, people. I'm getting a little loopy from the allergy medicine and the cold medicine combined, which probably isn't the best idea in the world. But I'm gonna let you go before things get crazy. And we will talk to you next week.